Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now if you collect Action Man figures, a very cheap way of getting good quality Action Man figures is to buy ones that are already broken. Now here we have what looks like a very nice Action Man. This is a blue pants eagle eyes Action Man. I picked this up off eBay for, I think I paid £11 for it, because the body and the arms and the hands are all in great condition, but it has one major flaw, and that is at some point during its life the head broke off. And some very ingenious person thought the way to fix the head was to glue it on. So you can see here that the head is actually glued in place. You cannot rotate it, you can't do anything. So this was obviously done, I would say, very early on in this Action Man's life, because the body itself has hardly been played with. So I'm guessing that some child broke this, a father or a parent glued this back on, and then it was not played with again, because really once the head is glued on, it's a bit of an annoying toy. You can't do anything to it. And also this one has been sort of glued on at quite a jaunty angle. It's sort of off to one side and slightly sort of too far back, so he looks a bit strange. So today we're going to fix this. Normally when I fix toys they're fully broken and it's just a case of repairing them. With something like this we're going to have to break it again. So really the first thing you need to do is try and work out what sort of glue it's been glued with, and actually on this one you can't really see, there's no residue of glue sticking out. It's actually been glued pretty well. Whoever did it did quite a nice job. So really what we've got to do is break this head off. Now there is a slight issue when trying to do this with these Action Man heads, because they have the eagle eyes action. There's a lever on the back here, and that makes the back of the head quite weak, so you can't just simply grab the head and twist it off. You're liable to sort of crack the back of the head. So what you need to do is to get a knife and to slowly sort of start to score around the glue on the edge. It's a little bit sort of fiddly to do, and at some point you'll start to see the glue will sort of give way a bit. You can actually see on this side, I'd already done a little bit of this before I started filming. You can see it's starting to crack just a bit there. And once you've got a bit of a crack going, then you can start to sort of slowly, you can hear it now. If I do this, you can hear the glue is starting to give. And hopefully that will come off without damaging the rest of it. Like so. That's pretty good. There's obviously a little bit of glue residue on the neck, which we should be able to sort of file down and tidy up. And you can see here the inside of the head. And luckily, what I was hoping for is there. This does have the neck post in it. Sometimes when you take the heads off these ones that have been glued, the neck post is missing as well. But now that we know that the neck post is there, then we can fix this in the usual manner. To get the glue off the neck post, you can see that this is actually quite a hard glue. I'm just going to use my knife and I'm gently going to sort of chip it away. Because it's quite a hard glue, it should just flake off. I have a feeling this may even be super glue. I have some super glue remover, so it might be worth just trying that. But it's certainly flaking away quite nicely. So I think, yeah, just a gentle bit of chipping with this. If you've got some glue remover, it's worth trying it, but it should just pick off quite easily. Now that I've picked the sort of the worst bits of the glue off, I've got a very gentle file here, and I'm just going to gently go around and file down any final sort of rough bits. This should take the top sort of surface off a bit and leave it still looking quite nice. By the time this is hidden under the neck, you won't even notice that there's any sort of filing been going on. You can see there it's taken it off quite nicely, so I've just got to work my way around and remove any of this final sort of glued residue. So there we go, I've sort of cleaned that down as much as I can be bothered today. I could file that down a bit cleaner, but to be honest, by the time the head's back in place you won't even see that. So the next thing we've got to do is to tidy up the head. Now there is a little bit of glue residue around the neck here. Now I have a feeling that this is probably super glue because it's gone fairly hard, and you can just sort of crack it away using the edge of a screwdriver. So really I'm just going to sort of break this as best I can like this. Again, this is all sort of hidden inside, so it's not really that important, but if there's any on the edge of the neck, then I'll obviously get rid of that. And then we can just sort of try and get the inner neck peg out, and again the easiest way to do that is just with a screwdriver, and you can just gently prise your way around the head like so, working the screwdriver around, and in the end the peg will pop out. I've shown you this before on another Action Man restoration, so it's not the hardest thing to do. It looks like it's a bit of a brutal thing, but once you've done it a few times You really don't have to buy that. And there we go, that's the neck peg popped out. I don't actually know where that went. It flew across the floor, so let me go and find that. And here it is, it did just fly across the rim. So that's the normal sort of neck peg. And we can just use the standard way of repairing this head with a bit of elastic. And I like to use a bit of Lego. So I'll show you that again, just in case you haven't watched my previous Action Man head repair video. But it's a fairly straightforward job to do. The next thing we need to do is obviously to remove the remains of the original sort of elastic sort of rubberized band here. And I've got a pair of plastic nippers, and really all you can do is sort of cut your way through this and pull out bits at a time, and in the end you'll cut enough out that you can get the whole part of this sort of remnant out. There's no easy way to do this, it's just a bit of a sort of picky job. Pick with those and then we'll get some tweezers out and we should be able to sort of pull out most of the remains of that. So there's the first bit sort of chopped up, then we get some tweezers, which I have here, and we can just start to sort of pull this thing about. It's fairly brittle after this. Plastic seems to, well, rubber I suppose, just goes brittle over the years, and so it's actually quite easy to break. You can see there, that's another bit out. So you just got to keep sort of pushing at it and pulling, and it will eventually, let me just see if I can grab that. Oh, that's actually all broken, it's now just fallen inside. I'm going to try and get that out because I don't like that little rattly noise. There we go. And you can see it's now just a clear hole, and we can see the peg inside that we have to put the elastic around. So what you're going to need for attaching the head is some elastic. You can pick up elastic anywhere. This is fairly sturdy stuff that I've bought this time. Quite often I just keep bits of elastic that come with bits of clothing, or when you buy shoes, sometimes the shoes are tied together with a bit of elastic. So any sort of elastic will do. And you only need a small length of it, because it's just got to sort of go through the neck hole and then back into the head. Now, on the top of the head, this is the bit that I've seen a few different people do it a few different ways. You end up pushing the elastic through this, and you need some way of stopping the elastic going back through that tiny little hole. Some people just tie a large knot in the elastic, or keep tying knots until you've got something that's large enough that won't go through. I don't really like that method. The way I use is I've used a bit of Lego. Now this is a bit of a Lego lance. You can use any sort of these Lego sort of pole type things, and all you do is you cut off a small length of Lego that fits across that hole, and then you can use that to stop the elastic falling back down again. So really all you've got to do, take a piece of this, and I'm going to cut it to the right length, which is only about so long, like that. Make sure that it fits inside. You can see that's actually just slightly too long, so I'm just going to trim off the edge of that, because what you want is a piece of plastic that fits inside that hole like that, and then now when we start putting the elastic through, we can use this to stop the elastic being pulled back inside. So let's thread the elastic into the Action Man body, and we'll put this head on. Now what you've got to do is thread the elastic through the original neck hole and behind that little peg inside of Action Man's body. Now there are many ways I've seen people do this, but the way I find easiest is actually just to use a little bit of beading wire. This is quite thin wire, and you can easily bend it, and you bend it into a loop like that, and then you can just insert that into the body, because the body is pretty deep, so you can insert that in and then turn it around, and with a bit of practice you can then pull the loop back out. So you can see there I now have the other side of the little loop I've made coming through, and you can then pull this through. So as you can see here, I've just tied the bit of elastic onto the end of that beading wire. If I just push that into the body quite a long way and then gently pull on this side, you can see that the beading wire is supple enough that you can pull it through. We now have the bit of elastic threaded through the neck, and it's as simple as that. The next part is never that easy to show on camera, because you really need to hold everything under tension. But now that we have the two bits of elastic, or the two ends of elastic coming out of the neck, we've got to thread this through the original neck peg hole, as you can see here. So thread those both through like that. Now what you've got to do is you've got to tie this elastic as tight as you possibly can. So you have to pull everything tight and then tie a knot. So for the first part, I'm going to just put a screwdriver through between the two bits of elastic, and then I'm going to hold the Action Man between my knees and pull everything really taut and tie this. And so that's the bit I can't really film on camera. I'll give it a go and we can see if it does actually work. Now that the elastic is in place, you can see we've got a screwdriver just holding it out temporarily. What we've got to do is just insert the small piece of Lego that I've cut here. This can be a little bit fiddly, but if you get another screwdriver and just slot that through the elastic as well, you can sort of widen it up enough, like so, that it's clearly visible where the bit of Lego needs to fit. So it's got to go inside the elastic, and you should just be able to drop that in place. Sometimes you need a pair of tweezers just to sort of move that around, as you can see, like that. And now if I let go and take out these two screwdrivers, the bit of Lego, like so, is firmly in place and holding the elastic from going back down the neck. So all we've got to do now is to chop off the ends of this bit of elastic, like so, and then reattach the head. And reattaching the head is just a simple case of pushing this back onto the neck post until it clicks in place. So push, and there we go, the head is back on. And now we can move Action Man's head around nice and freely, and it's pretty firmly held in place there. And here we have the finished figure. I took the time to add a little bit of paint to the eyebrows because those are the only other area that showed any sign of wear. I just used some humble black acrylic paints. As you can see, the result is pretty good. It's hard to tell that they've even been touched up. And of course now this guy's head is fully able to rotate, so he's back to being a very usable Action Man. So as I said, if you want to find sort of good quality Action Men, don't be put off if the sales listings for them says that the head has been broken off and glued back on, because it is a pretty easy thing to fix, and you can, as in this instance, get a very nice looking figure for very cheap price. Just because the head was broken off does not mean you can't have a good figure added to your collection. So if you've enjoyed this video and would like to help out on future toy-polloi projects, then please check out my Patreon page, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter and Facebook.